When I was a kid, my parents got me the Wind Waker strategy guide as a present, even though I didn't own Wind Waker the game, and the centerfold of the strategy guide was this huge 17 by 11 chart of all the islands. Even without owning the game, that map was magical to me. I ripped it out and took it with me when I biked around town, pretending my bike was a boat and the post office was Dragon Roost Island and the dirt path was the wide open seas. Even now, nothing awakens my inner child like Zelda world maps. They just make me want to get up and go have an adventure. And Breath of the Wild's world map continued this tradition beautifully. So, I like maps. This is my bedroom. This is what I'm wearing. I like maps. Maps are good. But what makes a map good? It's the same as any other user interface, really, because all maps are interfaces and all maps have users. It should do the thing the user is using it for. In the case of a map, that would be to familiarize themselves with information connected to physical space. A map should be easy to read, compact, non-overwhelming, and considerate of the use cases of its readers. For example, is this a diagram of bus routes or a map of seismic danger by region? Is this a walking tour or a tsunami evacuation plan? In short, a map is a microcosm of good UI principles in general: intuitive, complementary, economical. It should work in tandem with the goals of the user and complement their cognition. The same is true for world maps in games. Typically, a game map is, first and foremost, for navigational purposes. A good navigational map should inform and enable your travels. It should facilitate memorization of key landmarks and thoroughfares. It should solidify the player's connection to the physical space they inhabit. There should be a parity between map and world. This seems obvious, but some games don't do a particularly good job at this. Fez. This is the worst fake cough. Fez fans, don't get mad at me. I know this was a really hard world to create a map for. Game maps can go beyond merely informing a user's route finding. For example, take Fez again. The Fez world map shows the player where collectibles are still waiting to be found, letting them know which places they may want to pay a second visit. In Mario Kart, the minimap that displays the course layout also shows where the other racers are, so you know how far ahead you are, or how far behind you are, and who will be on the receiving end of your blue shell. Every piece of information that a map does or does not display was a choice made by the designers in order to not only help players make decisions, but to encourage players to make certain types of decisions. All UI motivates decision-making, both passively by bringing unconscious things to the top of mind, and actively by demonstrating what the game expects the player to care about. Because the purpose of all UI is to grease the wheels of gameplay, a game map should lightly nudge the behaviors a game wants to encourage. And what does Breath of the Wild want the player to do? Explore. Let's look at the simplest yet most impactful decision the designers made to cultivate that drive. In Breath of the Wild, when you first open your map, there's very little there. Maps in video games often evolve as you play, adding more sections as you discover them and more information as you uncover it. At each moment throughout the game, the world map derives its functionality through the interplay of two axes: what the player knows and what the map displays. The relationship between these four quadrants describes the information state as laid out by the world map at any given time. My favorite Zelda maps, namely the ones in Wind Waker, the Oracle games, and Breath of the Wild, cultivate the desire to explore by playing in one specific quadrant of this coordinate system, showing the player what they do not yet know. This is a tantalizing space. It initiates a question, it ignites a completionist instinct. This is where intrigue is cultivated. This is a mystery and a dare rolled into one. At the outset of Breath of the Wild, you are meant to feel that you're on the cusp of a phenomenal journey, And when you first open your map, the first thing that strikes you is how much world there is. This moment was pure magic. The map doesn't hide its breadth. Far from it, it brags, and it has every right to. Compare this to a game like Hollow Knight, which shows where unexplored tunnels terminate, leaving only the suggestion of rooms beyond. Compare it to games like A Link to the Past, where the player opens the map and sees much of the world laid out in front of them well before they see it with their own eyes. Compare without assuming that any method is strictly better than another. UI is about cultivating the experience you want your player to have, which will vary from game to game, and the smallest decisions can have a huge impact. For Breath of the Wild, it was impactful to me that I saw parts of the world with my own eyes before I ever saw them in the UI. New sections of map came as a reward and as a reference to continue my exploration, not as a precursor to begin exploring. The world itself is the player's primary reference. That instills a connection between the player and the world, really between the gameplay and the world, that is invaluable. It is this synergy between map, world, and gameplay where the Breath of the Wild world map becomes entrancing. Because gameplay is how the player exerts influence in the world, and when the player's actions are reflected back to them through the UI, it validates their autonomy and control. The player is in charge. The map starts out relatively decluttered, adding new towers and shrines as the player activates them. It is initially undaunting, a simple slice of world, modest compared to all that you can see from your starting place on the Great Plateau. Beyond that, it's the player's choice to further annotate the map, marking it with stamps to remember places they've been or to note areas they'd like to return to. The player can use their scope to place a beacon on a landmark in the distance, which will then appear in the map and minimap. Control rests in the player's hands to build up their map as a reference for their journey, and this manifests in highly personalized relationships with the map UI. My roommate used these markers a lot, whereas I used them quite little. I like to just go where the wind takes me. This is the reverse of many open-world games which take a UI-first approach, populating the map with icons intended to influence player decision-making, thus motivating their future travels. UI, player, world. In Breath of the Wild, the map is always updated as a result of player action, which itself is instigated through exploration. Notice a landmark, place a beacon, update the map. Run to a tower in the distance, activate it, get a new section of world map. World, player, UI. Explore, act, reflect. Does this mean the player might miss interesting things they happened not to stumble upon? Yes, it does. But I prefer a return to the era of gaming where to miss something is okay. It is a consequence of my own freedom. And so to find something is just as much a consequence of my engaging with the world. Fast travel is one of the key ways that map, world, and gameplay become inextricably tied together. Once activated, towers serve as fast travel destinations, so a player can return to them at any future time. It's hard for me to figure out how to launch into this next point without it sounding silly. The towers are tall. Look at them. See how they're tall? I was skeptical at first of the decision to place these giant space needles across the land of Hyrule. It felt like it would just ruin the vistas. But the height of the towers serves more of a purpose than just drawing the player's eye and giving them something to aim for. Though half of my time playing Breath of the Wild was spent looking around for the nearest unactivated tower and going, "Challenge accepted!" And then, invariably, while aiming for the tower, I'd get distracted by something else and go explore some weird pond, or take out a moblin camp, or go talk to that NPC. And what was I doing? Having landmarks to aim for puts the player in a state of perpetual motion through the world, because after the player is done being distracted, they can look around for the nearest unactivated tower and go, "Oh yeah, challenge accepted." But I think the tallness of the towers was much more important than pure landmarking. To activate a tower requires going up. Sometimes there will be wizards shooting at you, sometimes there will be guardians surrounding you, sometimes up is a really big up. When you get to the top, you have achieved something. You have achieved up. And once you are up, you can see far. This is a natural property of up. The towers entice the players to explore by being visible, and by offering more visibility once you reach the top, the towers continue to facilitate exploration. It's brilliant. It's wonderful. And because you can fast travel back to the towers again and again, up is a place you spend a lot of time. And the best part is that you don't get off the tower by climbing down, you jump and paraglide, converting up into far. The towers drill verticality into the player's heart. Verticality is the core, the soul of exploration in Breath of the Wild. The mesas and mountains that surround Hyrule make climbing, shield surfing, and paragliding the go-to means of traversing the landscape. Get out of here, horses! I don't need you anymore. Half of the fun of getting from place to place is in the up and down. That's why it was important for the towers to be tall, and that's why it's important for the map to be a topographical map. The designers knew what was fun about their game. The cohesion between map, world, and gameplay is so strong, so harmonious, that I just couldn't help but fall in love. And I think so much of that is because the map feels like a scrapbook of my choices. It feels like something I created rather than something I was given. A map in a game is more than a collection of information, more than lines on a page, paths from here to there. A map is a representation of a place you fall in love with. That's why when you search Legend of Zelda maps, so much of it is fan-made. Condensed into 2 dimensions, which you can hang above your bed, a map is a reminder of somewhere that matters to you. It can make you excited to begin your adventure and can bring you memories of your travels when your adventure is done. A map in the real world can tell you how to get somewhere. A map in a game world should make you want to go. And Breath of the Wild took this further than any Zelda before it. That alone is what makes this my second favorite game map of all time. What's my favorite? Stay tuned. I can't wait to see how the team iterates on this concept in Breath of the Wild 2. If you enjoyed this video, it would mean the world if you'd leave a like and a comment. That's how YouTube decides whether to recommend my videos to more people. And thank you so much to my lovely patrons over at patreon.com. Your support and generosity means the world to me. I feel like I keep saying world. World and map. World and map. Oh my god, 4% of the words in this script were map. Map, 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 map.